West Virginia's bought in, though. And not only was the team bought in, they're bought in off the field, too. And that's really what I want to focus on. So I didn't want to gloss over the Pitt win, but I do want to talk big picture some.
Ye of little faith. I had West Virginia winning that game. I thought Rich Rodriguez revenge
Shout
game.
out to Drake. Shout out to Drake.
First and foremost, I want to talk about loyalty and what that word means in the Big 12. There are certain fan bases in this country that are never going to be able to understand what West Virginia goes through on a day-to-day basis as a fan base because they don't get the idea that an entire state revolves around one thing and it's one university's football team. There are schools and states, like let's go to Texas, for example. If you're a Texas A&M fan, your mom's probably a UT fan, your brother's a fan of North Texas because he went there, and your sister, well, she's a Baylor Bear. In West Virginia, there is one thing, and it's West Virginia football. You grow up in the coal mines, and the second you get off work, and as someone myself, being from Arkansas, a state that's often overlooked, undervalued, we grew up on Arkansas Razorback football. And if they won or they lost, dictated how church went on Sunday morning. It's the first thing the pastor brought up. That's what West Virginia is. And the fact they have the loyalty of a guy like Wren Baker, an Oklahoma guy like Wren Baker, who passed up the opportunity in Norman to be their athletic director to stay at West Virginia. And the same Wren Baker who is tweeting out after this, hold this. It's a gif of a guy handing an L out to Pitt. He said, hold this, Pitt. We'll see you again in 2029. He's a West Virginia man through and through and made the West Virginia hire, brought home the native son. He didn't bring in glitz and glam and flash and young and look at this guy who's going to throw the ball around the yard and his new school opportunity to rebrand West Virginia. No, this is classic West Virginia. And now the latest news out of the university is they had a board of governors meeting. And the best part of the whole thing is the timing of it. The second they beat Pitt, the board of governors voted unanimously per West Virginia for a resolution in support of their athletics, calling for a development of a financial plan that positions the university in the top funding tier among Big 12 institutions. So where we've talked about Texas Tech, where we've talked about BYU being those schools who are investing more than anybody else right now, namely in NIL and infrastructure, we're now talking about West Virginia, who is putting rubber to the road and saying we're going to go 90 miles an hour to pass you, and we don't care who you are. There are Big 12 universities that still are not in financial positions to make a statement like this. So some of you are going to say like, well, that's just all fluff until something happens. It's not fluff. Like Iowa State right now, their athletic director, Jamie Pollard, who I think does a very good job. They're struggling financially. No. Cincinnati, Houston, there are schools that can't necessarily, and maybe they put a little bit too much, more than they expected, a little bit too much here, a little too much there, whether it's infrastructure or building a new facility. And then, wow, NIL and revenue sharing hit you in the face. And now you're like, okay, where do we get that money from? And Arizona, remember they had like $900 million misplaced a year ago? Like, we're just missing $900 million of what we thought was cash on hand. West Virginia, on the other hand, is saying, hey, where those schools are reeling financially or trying to figure it out financially in a new era, we don't have to. And this is a position that I think fan bases outside of the Big 12 are asking their school to go into. I mentioned Arkansas. They're asking the athletic director, the athletic department, please invest. We have the Tyson family. We have the J.B. Hunt family, the Walmart family sitting over here, the Waltons, and Mississippi State. They're saying the same. And Ole Miss, they're saying things like, when do we get this news? West Virginia just set itself apart from SEC schools, from Big 10 schools, from Big 12 schools by saying they're going to invest to the nth degree and become one of the better financial situations in this conference. And I think it's a huge win for Wren Baker. It's a huge win for Rich Rodriguez. And honestly, TJ, it's a win for the state of West Virginia, and that's what's cool.
Yeah, nobody should expect, right, in any league to just say like, oh, we're going to go compete with, you have to take those little steps. You really do. Like, oh, we're going to go spend what Oregon spends, or we're going to go spend what Miami spends, or we're going to go spend what Ohio State spends. I don't know that that's realistic to go from middle to bottom of the Big 12 to say like, all right, now we're going to go do even really what Texas Tech did. But if you can just be in that upper tier of your conference, and then if you can get a bit of a return on investment on that, right? Nobody just starts out investing $50 million in a month, right? You want to see a little bit of a return on investment. You want to see some improvement. You want to see West Virginia, which they absolutely should with their history. This isn't a shot at any other Big 12 team, but with their history, they absolutely should be competing at the highest levels in the Big 12, consistently in that top 4 to 6 range every single year. And West Virginia fans might probably even say I'm being conservative with that. No, we should be kind of in the top 2 or 3. We should always kind of have our name in the discussion. If you would have backed up 20 years when you and I were coming up watching football and said, hey, in 20 years, this is going to be the collection of Big 12 teams that's together, we would have said, oh, West Virginia is going to run that thing. Like they are going, like West Virginia was that team. And they're so desperate. They're so hungry and ready to get back to that I do think this is exciting as a college football fan in general, and somebody who kind of pulls for West Virginia at times, because I just remember back to Slayton and White and all those guys, Rich Rod back in the heyday, playing against USF here in Tampa. As somebody who kind of, that's exciting to me. Yeah. Right. I don't know. Listen, I don't know how many Houston fans are going to watch this. So I'm just picking a random team, or Cincinnati, or even UCF, which maybe I'll give UCF a little love because they're here close to me. But if Houston did this, I don't know that I would care that much, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of like Kansas State. We have Kurtz on at times. I'm just kind of pulling for him. Manhattan seems like, but I don't know that would move me that much. West Virginia feels like one of the big brands in college football that needs to get back to being a big brand. And this is how you do it. You reinvest, you become one of the better teams in your conference, and then you go from there, right? Then in 5 years, once they've maybe been more competitive, won more games in the Big 12, then I think you start to look at, okay, what more can we do past that? What can we squeeze out to really be, but you got to start out with being good in your conference. If you can't get to the middle of the road in your conference or better, you're never relevant nationally. And so to me, this is exciting for West Virginia because they have all the tools you need. They're very close to a recruiting hotbed. They're in the DMV. They have a great legacy type coach right now that they brought home. They will play the right way. They have a fan base that is one of the most supportive in the country. When they're good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter. And I think they have everything they need. We also know that right now in college football, you need money. At the end of the day, you need money to compete. You ain't competing off of good vibes and good coaching, right? You're competing because of money. And now all that stuff helps, right? None of the teams up in the top 10 have bad coaches, right? Like that, you got to have that as well. But I do think that's why this is so exciting. So anyway, let me get off my soapbox of rambling of why this is so great. But it's exciting to me as not even a West Virginia guy. Right.
I think, and from a Big 12 perspective, if we look up in 2 or 3 years, TJ, and it's West Virginia, BYU, Texas Tech, Utah, and Iowa State running the league, running college football, like, consistently making college football playoff appearances, that's good for the Big 12. Like even just Texas Tech, BYU, West Virginia.
It is.
Let's spread it out. That's East Coast, Middle America, and then pushing the West Coast with BYU. We're going different time zones here. Those 3 brands, if they emerge as the 3 for the Big 12, it's massive for the conference. I think West Virginia reinvesting and going all in is huge for the Big 12. Not more so than it is for West Virginia and its fan base, but huge for the Big 12 when it comes to national perspective.
Yeah, we've talked so much about realignment when you and I have gotten together, and I don't want to take this down that road, but when we talked a little bit about who would be a good partner for West Virginia to come into the conference? So in the back of my mind, some of the thoughts that I had, and I know Pitt's won, Virginia Tech's won. There are others that were back in that big, that would make sense. Louisville. When I've thought about that, I've thought, man, if West Virginia doesn't take care of themselves, who cares? Who cares to bring in a travel partner? Not that they wouldn't do it, but like, who cares to bring in someone? If West Virginia can't even take care of what they need to take care of, why do we need to bring this other team in for them? It will make it more attractive for realignment as well. A good West Virginia versus a good Louisville, a good West Virginia against a good Virginia Tech at some point. Those things are much more attractive than, West Virginia's here. They go 4-5 every year in the conference. We'll give them a buddy, and that's it. I'm just telling you, it has such bigger ramifications than just what is good for West Virginia. You're spot on there.
Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Why? Because I am 24 years old and don't really know what I'm doing with my money until now, thanks to Monarch Money. It's your all-in-one personal CFO. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why Monarch Money comes in, and it makes it easy for you. Built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. They do the heavy lifting for you, and you can link all of your accounts in minutes. Identify you aren't saving as much as you thought, and even look at allocating funds to different spots like your 401k and 401ks from past jobs as well. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. That code is LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year with Monarch Money.